Ba-dum! Is a Netflix WWE Draft coming? I was doing a Netflix sound there. More issues with The Rock and WWE. Backstage heat with Goldberg and more. I'm Ollie Davis with a moustache, and this is the WrestleTalk News.
Support WrestleTalk!
Get exclusive bonus videos over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Monday Night Raw is set to debut on Netflix on the 6th of January. A huge move not just for WWE, but for the entire way you consume media. For the first time in Netflix's history, it'll have a live major broadcast that's A, weekly, and 2, not dependent on Mike Tyson wanting to fight. Both WWE and Netflix will want the best possible show to hook the platform's potentially millions of new fans in, which means you should have your biggest stars. And currently, both of WWE's top draws, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, are on SmackDown. WWE have recently begun filming promotional material for the move, and Fightful Select have revealed which stars Netflix want on Raw. Unsurprisingly, the names are Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk, two of whom are currently on Fridays, and the other one out with a bad case of the not wanting to work Saudi Arabian PLEs. Apparently, Cody was in talks with Netflix over a potential movie role too, but that didn't end up happening. The talent Fightful spoke to claim they don't yet know which brand they will be on starting next year, but a number of stars from both Raw and SmackDown were at the Netflix commercial shoot on the 27th of October, including Raw stars Io Sky, Kairi Sane, and members of the LWO, along with SmackDown wrestlers Elektra Lopez and the Motor City Machine Guns. Also there, rather awkwardly, was Baron Corbin, who departed the company late last week. With such a collection of Raw and SmackDown wrestlers shooting commercials for Raw's move to Netflix, it implies a draft may be taking place to freshen up the roster for 2025. For the last 2 years, the draft has taken place following WrestleMania, which makes sense as it lets that season's feuds culminate and then everyone gets moved around for the new school year. We'll have to see if Levesque brings it back closer to the October drafts from 2019 to 2021 to satisfy the Netflix requests. Or, what I think will happen, the brand split will become very soft from January to April, just like it did on this year's Road to WrestleMania, where everyone's hands are on deck to build the company's biggest show. Or not, if you're The Rock. Several weeks ago, the Wrestling Observer reported that The Rock wasn't then scheduled to appear at WrestleMania 41, which was quite surprising considering he'd just turned up at the end of Bad Blood, seemingly setting up a three-way match between him, Roman, and Cody. Rock, the Dwayne Johnson himself, called the report bull, and Fightful Select wrote he is a priority in the company, but never actually confirmed him for a WrestleMania match. The Wrestling Observer has now reiterated that Rocky has not committed to wrestle at the show yet, with one source saying there is nothing set and the other said Johnson is not scheduled. It can often be difficult to figure out what's actually going on in wrestling. Do you believe the wrestler, whose whole job it is to trick you? Or do you believe the dirt sheet, who can get things wrong? In this case, maybe just look at WWE. The Wrestling Observer has pointed out that the official WrestleMania 41 poster, which was released this week, has Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, John Cena, CM Punk, Logan Paul, and more on there. But there is no Rock. And if The Rock really was confirmed for the show, that poster would almost definitely be just The Rock's giant head. Sorry again, CM Punk. Now here's a message from this video's sponsor.
Another email sent. Time for a break.
Is this you? Have you had an accident recently after sending an email that wasn't your fault? The accident, that is, not the email. Has your accident affected you personally? Has some uneven floorboards made you trip and feel you deserve some compensation? Well, maybe it's time you get yourself some personal injury legal advice from injury lawyers Morgan & Morgan. You see, Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm, with over 1,000 attorneys operating in all 50 states. They're more than just a traditional law firm. They're a national consumer-facing brand with a promise of being for the people. When you're seriously hurt, your injury could be worth millions, like little baby boy Luke here, who, after this fall, wasn't able to turn left ever again. Morgan & Morgan don't settle for lowball offers. They achieve significant verdicts in the past couple of months for victims involved in life-altering car crashes. If you've ever been seriously injured, your case could be worth millions, and you're only a few clicks away from potentially changing your life. It's so easy. You can start your claim now with Morgan & Morgan using the link in the description below. Don't be a little baby loser boy like Luke.
Ow.
Tonight's episode of Raw was actually taped last night in Saudi Arabia, so the results are already out there. Skip to the timestamp on screen now if you don't want to know, because we're entering the Spoiler Room Brawl in 3, 2. What do you mean Adam Pearce accidentally became the #1 contender to Bron Breakker's Intercontinental title? Just kidding. 1. Io Sky won a battle royal to make her the #1 container to Liv Morgan's Women's Championship. A welcome break for the title not being stuck in the Rhea Ripley versus
Judgment Day, Dominic Mysterio Vortex!
And Bronson Reed took out Seth Rollins in the Fatal 4-Way main event, which meant Damian Priest got the pin on Dominic Mysterio, pulling Gunther's World Heavyweight title into the Damian Priest versus Judgment
Day, Dominic Mysterio Vortex!
I'm Carlito. Don't say anything racist, Carlito. The Priest versus Gunther rematch is expected to take place at December's Saturday night main event. But that's not really the biggest match for Gunther, because all through that Priest feud we'll be asking 2 questions. 1, when is Finn Balor going to screw over Priest again? And B, who's next? Goldberg announced over the weekend that he will have his retirement match in WWE sometime in 2025. It's reported this match will be against the World Heavyweight Champion Gunther, after they had a pull-apart angle back at Bad Blood. The Wrestling Observer newsletter has been told the match isn't planned for either the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, and it's likely they don't have a confirmed date for it yet. But Gorg's announcement prompted a strongly worded piece of fantasy booking from one of his WWE Return victims, the former Dolph Ziggler and current TNA World Champion Nick Nemeth. On the bell, he spears and jackknifes Gunther. Gunther kicks out at 1 3-minute match, and good riddance. Then adding, or it can be the Steiner Kid, relax. Nemeth wrestled Goldberg at SummerSlam 2019, where Goldberg squashed him in 2 minutes and kept returning to the ring to beat him up more and more and more in the post-match angle. This isn't the first time Nemeth has expressed dislike towards Goldberg. In 2022, when WWE shared a throwback clip of their feud where Goldberg dropped his mic, Nemeth posted, willing to bet he injured that mic. And in 2023, it's speculated this Nemeth tweet could also have been about Goldberg and a potential disagreement they had before that SummerSlam match. Arguing face to face with one of the greatest of all time that they are in the wrong about psychology, and later being absolutely vindicated, makes you wonder who's great and who's just booked great. Haha! But Nemeth is no longer in WWE. So what about disgruntled wrestlers that are currently under contract? Over the last several months, Montez Ford has been giving increasingly frustrated interviews about his position in WWE. And now, talking to the Daily Mail, Ford has said, "The Street Profits aren't in conversations when it comes to top tag teams. We're not in conversations when it comes to anything wrestling related, besides the fact of getting handled by the Bloodline. And that doesn't sit well with me. So as well as it is going in terms of being my dream job, it is enjoyable as it is frustrating." While many thought the Street Profits would soar once Triple H took over from Vince McMahon, as they were a strongly pushed tag team in NXT, as Ford says, they've often just found themselves being jobbed out to further whatever story the Bloodline is doing. As great as the Bloodline saga has been, it has come at the expense of many of SmackDown's mid-card acts. Ford confessed he's felt this way since 2023. On night 1 of WrestleMania 39, the Street Profits won the Showcase Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match. Then they were drafted to SmackDown a few weeks later, but rather than use that as momentum, they had nothing to do for months. And then they turned heel with Bobby Lashley as part of the new Pride faction, that also kind of went nowhere. All these things are running, we have a WrestleMania win, and then boom, it just stops. And it's been this constant stop and go and stop and go and stop and go with the Profits, where we'll get momentum and then the momentum will stop. The momentum will start again and the momentum will stop. And for us, that's frustrating, because it's hard to get behind a team whose momentum starts and then it shifts again. The Street Profits haven't held the tag team titles since January 2021, and several breakup stories have been teased, but then totally dropped. Maybe going it alone could be Ford's best option. Just look at Jey Uso. WrestleNomics is reporting that Jey Uso sold more merchandise on the WWE shop in October than both CM Punk and Roman Reigns combined, which is an insane achievement and surely puts him near the top of the company's merch selling chart. Punk hasn't been on TV since his Bad Blood Hell in a Cell match, which might explain why his sales aren't as big as normal, But Roman has been heavily featured on TV. Perhaps it's because of Jay's Intercontinental Championship win and his return to the Bloodline soap opera that's fueled sales. But what about that one Samoan wrestler who isn't related to Jay? Samoa Joe last wrestled on AEW TV 4 months ago, losing to Chris Jericho in a Stampede street fight. He was written off by Jericho driving him through a wall on a forklift truck, so Joe could go film the second season of Twisted Metal, which he stars in for Peacock. The show's writer has now confirmed that season 2 has finished production. Wrestling Observer have added Joe is now available to return to AEW. But never mind Twisted Metal, what about Paddington 3? Don't argue with me, Paddington 2 is one of the greatest sequels of all time. Click the video on screen now to watch Luke and Laurie go through the biggest film releases this month, like Paddington 3 and Wicked.